Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here, 8:30 a.m. EST, and today is the FOMC. So today is basically it's not a decision day. What they're going to take a look at is what the Federal Reserve was talking about privately when they decided to make their rate decision last month, which I don't think they did anything. I think they just kept rates steady. And what happens on a day like this sometimes is that information comes out in those minutes that shows what they're thinking about future cuts, future hikes, guidance for the future, things like that. And so when this data gets dropped, a lot of market participants will sit there and they will analyze it and they'll microscope it, right? They'll really, really pay strict attention to, oh, what did they say, and this and that and the other, and then they'll, make some trading decisions based on that. Usually, you're talking about higher level moves in, the forex market, things like that, or big moves into or out of the Nasdaq, which we're looking at on the screen right now. So that's what that's about. That's happening today in a few hours. Happens at 5.5 hours from now. So that said, the market might be pretty quiet. So we'll just kind of briefly go over everything. Might not be a very long show. Of course, the public live lab is always, about 10, maybe 15 minutes long. Private live lab generally goes for an hour. And as long as people have questions, we will stay on and answer them. But it just may be that the market is so quiet. There's not a lot to talk about. So let me go ahead and I put out the private live lab report, or excuse me, I put out the public report yesterday. Okay, so if you look in the description, there's a link for a free algo. And if you get that free algo, you'll also be sent weekly updates. I do a newsletter. I talk about what's happening. And I also will give you a link to my video as far as what I think will happen in the markets this week. And that went out yesterday. Usually it's a Monday when that goes out, but the market was closed on Monday. So I'll wait for one trading day just to see how things open up. And then I do a report for the rest of the week, right? So not a whole lot of change since that came out yesterday. The NASDAQ itself, tech is kind of in trouble. It's a bit vulnerable. Not to say it won't get held and caught eventually or even soon, but there is some bearishness involved. So the way to look at this is just the way I talked about yesterday. And this is the daily chart, right? This is going back to like October. Your level where you start to really know that you're in trouble is if price breaks below 23,900. So that's this lower level right here. Okay. If price breaks below there, you can possibly expect some kind of, deeper retracement, right? It would have been a significant fall from the top. Just to reach that level would have been a 10% drop from the top of the NASDAQ, right? And then the next level I'd be looking at would be way down at 22,004, which would be, I'm guessing, about 18%. Let's see, 15% from the top. So that's 15%. It's not fatal. We've seen far worse in recent history. The tariff tantrum, I think, was like 20 or some odd percent. So this is not that big of a deal. It's just a blip. But the NASDAQ is tech heavy, and the AI sector does appear to be overpriced. So, I mean, I'm being generous when I say that. There's a lot of money that's been spun up, and we have entire companies, like, for example, what's that company? NVIDIA, that is like, they make one product basically, and they're worth 14% of the NASDAQ, and they're worth more than ExxonMobil. I just don't see that being possible. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. So the deeper these go, the more trouble we are in. But I imagine they're going to catch it at one of these levels, whether it's 22.4, 23.8, or even just right here where it fell to, the last week or so. We'll see about it. For now, there is still some vulnerability. I don't see anything in the high time frame that says, hey, all of the blood is done, right? So for now, we can expect price to either range or head down a bit in that regard. Bitcoin just really doing what I thought it would do. As you can see, even what I drew yesterday is just kind of grinding down into this to the right. If I were to back up here, you have your all-time high way up here at 126, right? And remember that the 4-year cycle, I think, still applies. We may find that it doesn't apply, but it's a pretty solid pattern so far. Now, there haven't been a lot of halvings. We don't have a whole bunch of history to look back at with Bitcoin. We don't have like a real estate cycle that we can point to 150 years of, 7-year cycles or whatever it is. But we've got, something like 12 years of Bitcoin, right? More like 16, 17 years of Bitcoin we can point at. And the cycle is based on the actual halving. And so whether or not Bitcoin stays relevant is another question. As of now, though, that kind of doesn't seem to matter in a sense, because if Bitcoin is relevant or irrelevant, it tends to fall right now. And it is, what is that? Oh, 40% off the highs. Let's see. Right now, it's roughly 50% off the highs, maybe a little less, 48% off the highs. So, Algo Factory got out above 100,000. So at least, me and V and ours, all of our guys got out a long time ago. The people that we talk to and deal with, or at least that V talks to and deals with. So, it's just one of the things about Algo Factory. We don't tell you where to trade, what to trade, when to buy and sell, but we do tell you what we're doing. And we actually got out about a year ago. So there you go. And that's when it was above 100,000. And then, of course, price rotated that whole time for, in 2025, it just kind of stayed above 100,000. It made it all the way up to 126, but it didn't go much above that, right? So, we got out about here, and price actually dumped a lot. And then it kind of stayed at that same level for, from June until October. And then it just kept going down. So, we were a bit more cautious. We just got wind of what was happening and we shared what we were doing. But of course, we didn't tell anybody what to do. Let's take a look at, we got a little bit of time left. We'll take a look at gold. Gold and silver holding, right? They're just holding steady. We did have the concern that the Chinese New Year might make a problem a little bit for metals. We thought that perhaps Chinese New Year, and it may be the case, it's just, we got 8 more days left to Chinese New Year, and the paper market for metals is going to be lacking the kind of bullishness that it usually has from China during this time, because China is the primary buyer, or at least the single largest buyer of metals by far. And the main players that control metals prices are going to be like the COMEX, Shanghai, and LBMA has a say. And right now, Shanghai is basically not, doing anything. So LBMA and COMEX may have an interest in pushing prices down. They're the ones who, in effect, exacerbated this profit taking. I do believe that we just basically saw profit taking a couple of weeks ago when crypto, when gold and silver took the big fall that it did. It started off, in my opinion, as profit taking, and then right as it wanted to recover, the COMEX raised the margins requirements, and that what that meant was that people who wanted to bet on metals had to put more of their own money in, right? So they couldn't borrow as much to play. And of course, what those who were holding positions had to sell them, and that pushed the price down, right? Again, so it happened twice. And the second time they hiked margins, they even hiked it way more on silver, which is why you get this more bearish look. This right here is when that happened, right? Right there. Now with gold, it actually was right here, but right there with gold. Well, let's back that arrow up here. Happened right here with gold. It wasn't as drastic. Well, they hiked the margins 100% higher with silver, right? They're really trying to hold silver down. Now, it's actually holding pretty steady considering what's happening in the markets. So this could just go sideways for a while. But it wouldn't surprise me that some kind of data comes out, or something changes in what they're doing, and we might see metals actually take a hit in the next 8 days or so during Chinese New Year. We'll see about it. It happened last time on a Friday. It could happen again on a Friday. I would be pretty careful with metals right now. I'd wait until Chinese New Year is over if I were trying to, play games. I think metals overall on a higher time frame are a good deal. If silver got down to 55, I'd be very interested in buying a lot of it. I can tell you right now, a lot of people are very interested in buying it. With gold, I mean, I think these are both in buy territory. I think that they might go down a bit. Don't get me wrong. The two levels I look at, like if I were, hey, I want to go buy some gold, like a good level I think might be like 4,400 might be a nice level, but I'd let price get there. It went there when it fell pretty hard. It went down to that level, but I would definitely look at the market as price approached those levels and make a decision at that time. So for the meantime, though, if this is just all we're going to get and it's going to go sideways and everything else, there are a lot of people who are just simply buying metals now, just to understand that. So I'm going to go ahead and end this right here. Go to the link in the description. There is a free algo. It's an algo where you see me, I build the algo, I turn it into code. And then what I do is I show you what the traders do as far as connecting their algo to the broker. And it's like, I show you the tools they use, and it's not as hard as you think. AI makes everything like really easy nowadays. Of course, it's you have to optimize the algo before you actually trade it, right? So you have to study it. You might have to add to it yourself a little bit, but I show you how it's done. So it is a free algo. So go ahead and check that out. And again, we'll send you updates and everything else. And thank you all for watching. Gonna head to the private live lab. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. EST. And don't forget.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.